Hello and welcome to another battle report. Today is the first game of the Remote Access League. I am playing JSA versus Combined Army. If you didn't see the first video where I go through my list and why I selected it, you're probably better off looking at that first. First of all, let's look at the battlefield. Okay, so here's the map. As you can see, it's quite built up without many huge lanes of fire. It's going to be a masking, so you've got three consoles. You've got console there, there, and there. And hidden amongst the enemy are three high value targets. One of them's the real one, and two of them are fakes. And the aim is to find the real one and take them down by going to these consoles, scanning them, and finding out who's the real one, who's the baddie. So it's probably pretty important to get to those consoles fairly fast and trigger them to get VP at the end of the game and also find out which HVT is the one that I want to take out. So now time for deployment. First of all, my deployment. There you have my Arigato with a boarding shotgun. I've got my Kempai along with the Ayama and Tanko Fire Team Harris to the left hand side. There you can see my core fire team. I've got Jimbo there, Yuriko near the Harris fire team. They've got the Ryokin on top of a building with a fairly good view of the battlefield, along with this mine kind of to the right of him. Hidden there with the arrow, you can see, well you can't see because she's hidden, is Shinobu waiting there. Her aim is to leap out and attack a high value target. You'll see where my opponent's targets are in a minute, but my aim was to leave her there until near the end of the game and claim a HVT. And then hidden away is a ninja killer hacker. My aim is to have him appear, push a button, and unsurprisingly kill any hackers that are nearby. You see there, three arrows, that's where my HVTs are. One of them of course is hidden a bit by the camera angle. My high value HVT, that's worth the most points, is the one to the far left with the yellow arrow. My opponent's deployment, he's got a Sheskin there hidden away. He's got two Datarazi. He's got an Imager on there giving an order and never really moving from there at all. He's got Bit and Kiss on top of the building, lying prone. He's got two Shrouded, both of them with kill hacking devices. He's got a Ikadron drone there. He's got his Liberto mine layer. A Mentor, got a Tiger, or two of them in fact really there. And he's got a Nurikus. Finally his Raziat is there, up in the sky, with his parachute waiting to drop down and do horrible things to me if I'm not paying attention. Spoiler alert, I wasn't paying attention. Okay, now let's do turn one for the Combined Army. His Tigers ran forward over the rooftops, ready to try and outflank me and kill any HVTs that he managed to find early on. His Datarazi then ran forward as well, using their impetuous orders there to get at my grill. Then his Nurikus decided to impersonate Bob from accounting, go all smiley, and go for a little walk. I'm sure he's going to be absolutely fine and, you know, be up to no good at all for me later on. Then a bunch of stuff ran forward using combined orders. His Shrouded then decloaked, popped forward and punched the button, nominated the middle HVT, and that wasn't the real one. I was pretty nervous there because they had a good chance popping forward, finding out my real HVT was the one on the far left and just shooting them, which I'll go into in a minute. He then had another Shrouded go to the middle, push a button there and reveal my HVT as being the real one to the left hand side. He was covered by my Ryokin, but he went prone, and because of the fact when being prone he was out of his base, he was covered by one of the walls further forward, so I couldn't quite see him. So there's some very good play there for my opponent being prone, meaning I couldn't see him. Used my orders up, but of course I couldn't then ARO him. Now here we go. So I made the real big mistake of having my HVT visible to where one of the consoles is. That meant that if someone pushed a button on that console and they found the right HVT, they could immediately shoot them. I thought my HVT would be safe there. It was a terrible mistake. He moved forward and shot at my HVT. I was really lucky that she managed to dodge out of the way. That was, to be frank, a terrible mistake of mine, on my part, and I'm pretty lucky that it didn't shoot her in the head first turn, which would have been, well, not great really at all. He then moved his Shrouded across after being recloaked and pushed the third button, making all my HVTs visible in turn one. His Tiger then ran forward and hid behind some boxes. more on that tiger and how pesky he was later on. JSA turn 1, first of all, 2 bikes jumped forward with their impetuous moves. I then had the problem with this tiger being very close to me. His sixth sense was great at blocking out my ability to just sneak around him with stealth. I went forward, took a shot at him with my Tanko, and he dodged further towards my HVT. We moved round, and then we had several orders of this merry little dance when we were trying to pin them down and they're dodging around. Eventually, I was able to pin them in place and then attack them in close combat. Turns out, even though a Tanko has a mono weapon, they can still tank it if they were high enough in the armor rolls. So a few swipes with a mono weapon and nothing happened. That was good for me at all. The Tanko stood there engaged. Now, I had spent a lot of orders at this point on this. I could have taken the Tiger out, but it was locked in place with the melee. It had a very good dodge, but I had to do other things around the board. Otherwise, I'll be burning up orders and I think throwing good money after bad. So my ninja decloaked and pushed the button there. I was pretty sure one of his HVTs was on his left, my right. I picked one of them. It wasn't the right one, so I was pretty sure it was the other one. My calling to move forward, looking at that console. My heavy machine gunner couldn't get an angle on his shrouded without moving further forward. At that point, he would be in a bad range band from me. He'd be in the open, but I was less concerned about that. I instead decided to have my hacker hack them. Now, they had a killer hacking device. I was very lucky in terms of the isolation not quite working, but in return, not being fried by his hacker. In reality, I should have moved my heavy machine gun forward, even though it was a terrible range band for me. With the calling bonus and burst 5, it would have taken the shrouded out. So that hacker I should have kept back purely for button pushing. I was too confident about him doing things, despite the fact that actually he was a far worse hacker than anything the Combined Army has to throw at me. So that was a real mistake and certainly hurt me later on. Biker here tried to do a intuitive attack on his cloaked shrouded, having failed to discover them early in the turn. The intuitive attack worked, but unfortunately he dodged out of the way. Finally, he was decloaked. I wanted to pin them down. I am not good at judging range bands, especially on TTS, and I'm still not fully used to how far things can shoot. So rather than a chain rifle shot, I took 2 EM grenades with Takeshi, which managed to hit and isolate his hacker, meaning he had much less access to orders later on. Time for another cracking mistake. I moved forward Yojimbo to try and take out his shrouded. Now, maybe it's hindsight. In reality, I should have put down a crazy koala here to guard my HVT, who's just in front of him there behind the barrels. Instead, I didn't do that. I had a contender plus 1 burst, thought 2 shots at him, good range band for me, took 2 shots. Unfortunately, I missed both shots. His AR hit me back and took a wound off Yojimbo, triggering his no wound incapacitation. That really affected later on because that meant my entire right hand flank was exposed. Finally, the ninja recloaked, and that was it. So turn 1, no one really died. We were all jostling for position. I made some bad plays there, which didn't have an immediate effect, but definitely affected me later on in turn 2. Combined Army, turn 2. So let's do this. First of all, his Tiger went down the staircase and fired a chain colt at Yojimbo. I got the ranges wrong. I didn't think I was in range for whatever reason. I should have nanopulsed him. I didn't nanopulse him. I instead tried to shoot back with a contender and failed, and as a result, Yojimbo died. This was bad. It was very bad, and we'll go into why in a minute. The epic fight continued between my Tanko and a single dog, as once again there was flailing. He managed to do a crit on me and do me a wound. Fortunately, the Tanko's armor held for some other combats. His Tiger then moved around. Even though my HVT was able to make a crit dodge, it was using Berserk, and so it was able to take her out. The Shrouded then exchanged fire with my Biker, and both of them died in the crossfire. The Tiger then moved around the corner. My crazy koala leaped towards it. Unfortunately, it dodged out of the way. It was then able to use a chain colt to take out a large chunk of my link team, including, unfortunately, my lieutenant. My ninja here, for some reason, replaced by a cube, was shot by an intuitive attack and then killed. My hacker was able to crit and isolate his shrouded, but then Bob from accounting turned around and ended up being not Bob from accounting, and he was able to use Trinity to kill my hacker. He then moved around and with a combination of both arrows and murder killed the rest of my Link team as well as my HVT. The epic fight continues between the Tanko and a dog. Once again, the dog's amazing armour bounces its mono weapon attacks several times. Now, that was with the Impetuous move, so it basically was a free order. I was in loss of Lieutenant. My only option was to hurtle Yuriko forward and push the button. I was pretty sure where his HVT was, and then use Shinobu to try and kill them. To do this, I had to use all my command tokens to convert my irregular orders from loss into regular orders to move her forward. And that's my entire turn. So, my Gambit, moving her forward, up to the console. She got to the console finally with the last order and pushed the button, leaping towards it. So, that was that. Oh, in good news though, finally Ayama was able to go and kill the Taiga. So, you know, that's something. Combined Army, turn 3. Fortunately, my opponent had fallen into my cunning trap. I had so many things dead on one side, a lot of his army, couldn't get to anybody else, so that was good, I guess. Yuriko was there next to the button. He wanted to try and get rid of them, so he moved his Datarazi around. Fortunately, Yuriko has a fantastic dodge, and she was able to dodge around away from him. He then brought his other Datarazi. He fired chain rifle shots at Yuriko and at Takeshi. He could take the wound because he had 2 wounds. He made the armor save and Yuriko dodged out of the way, but his Datarazi was also unhurt by this. It then threw a grenade. It then threw a smoke grenade at the corner of the board. This is bad news for me. Takeshi then killed the Datarazi, but the damage was done. Dropping in from the sky, the thing I was most scared of was, of course, his Razyat. Dropped in, it parachuted in, and was able to target my HVT and kill them. I didn't fire back with my Spitfire. I thought that she blocked line of sight, but turns out that HVTs don't do that. Either way, it does make a huge difference. He then moved around to take out Takeshi. Takeshi lost the first close combat roll, had a decharge put to his chest, but fortunately made most of his armor saves and only took 1 wound. And in return, killed his Razyat. Here we go, JSA turn 3. Yuriko had dodged away, so she had to move into contact with the console again. Unfortunately, his Datarazi there had a chain rifle, and I didn't fancy chances against that. The Tanko couldn't use his Impetuous order, because in doing so, the ARO from the Datarazi would hit both him and Yuriko. So instead, Takeshi used his irregular order to move forward. First of all, taking a chain rifle shot, which the Datarazi tanked. Then moving into close combat with Berserk, knowing that even if I was killed in return, I would hit them with a huge martial arts value. I was able to then kill the Datarazi. Then Yuriko moved forward. I had promoted her to Lieutenant this turn, so she had 2 rolls at pushing the button, which would reveal the HVT, which would mean I'd have an order left for my assassin to appear and shoot the HVT. She's got this. No. But it's okay, she can try again. No. Well, that's that. So, at this point, I was definitely going to lose the game. 10-2. If I had managed to push the buttons and kill the HVT, I was going to win 6-5. Shinobu appeared and she took a bunch of shots at the HVT I had revealed to get some points on the board. And there's his armor saves. She was able to shoot one more time and kill the HVT, giving me some points, but allowing the combined army to win 10-2. So, the game is over. As you can see, I lost 10-2, and I thought I would go back into TTS and go through a few of the mistakes I made that actually really span the game away from me. First of all, I've got Yojimbo here in a sort of recreation of turn 1-ish, where he came around this corner and took some shots at his Shrouded. Now, there was a crazy koala here. He should have come around and put a koala maybe by my HVT or around the corner out of sight here. Instead, taking some shots at the shrouded. Now, I probably should have hit, but even so, Yojimbo is fairly squishy, even with no wound incapacitation. So I should have been more careful, especially seeing as without both of his koalas out, he's lost a lot of his value, and they would have helped protect my HVT from, of course, his tiger here. Now, this kind of links in again because, of course, the tiger came down the steps down here, or fell in this case, and took a shot at me with their chain colt. Now, I didn't realise the size of the AoE. He was fine with it. I also didn't appreciate my own range in nanopulsar here. I should have shot them back with that. Now, second part, later on in the game, is this situation here. So, as you may remember from the battle report, my hacker came round this corner and took a isolation hack attack at his shrouded, because my heavy machine gunner couldn't see them from where he was because they were prone and they were blocked by this console. Now, I thought, oh, range bands aren't very good and I'll be out of cover. To be honest, Gaizotsu are pretty cheap, and this guy here, of course, is important to push buttons, so he should have been further back, and in reality he should have come around the corner here and taken a shot. It'd have been, you know, at a bad range band to me, a -3, but with the +3 from the Link team and the bonus 1 burst, it'd have been 5 shots that is shrouded. He would have had mimetism and so on, but I'd have been a lot better off than exposing my hacker, who isn't very good. Thirdly, of course, is my early play here, where I wanted to put my HVT in the corner out of sight of the rest of his army, but of course I didn't appreciate that the first person to push a button here would of course be in clear view of her. I was very lucky to have her not shot off the board straight away. Even being a bit further back would have helped me an awful lot there, really. Although I think that may be a bit too far backwards, but you get the idea. There was bad because she was visible from the console. So there's 3 points there in which I think I didn't help myself. I had some bad luck in the game, but I do believe in any war game you make your own luck. And pointing at dice rolls isn't a very positive way of looking at things, and also not very accurate. I didn't play a perfect game, spoiled with dice rolls. I played a game where I made mistakes and also had some bad dice rolls. So I could have definitely done some things better to improve the odds in my favour, and losing this area in particular and having it completely unsecured really meant he could go around and delete basically half my battlefield in one go and control the area. As it was, I was lucky later on I had the chance to pull it back. And that's it. Hopefully you enjoyed it. If you liked it, put comments down there. Down there. Can you see them? Right there. And let me know how you thought about it in terms of format and all that, because it's kind of a new attempt from me to make it a bit different to normal. You know, I'm going to do more of these in future. That's it. I've run out of things to say. So please subscribe to my podcast and to my YouTube, and I'll see you later.